Welcome to the Money on Steroids podcast. Today, I have the pleasure to host my friend, Jamie Watkins, who's a certified property manager from New York. Jamie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, Jamie. So, I wanted to have you on this podcast because you have an amazing and super inspiring story. We were talking about it last time. Before starting or digging into like properties in Dubai and other countries, I want to hear your story first.
Well, it started in New York City, of course,
Yeah.
right? I started out as a intern for a company in New York City. It was a property management company. I was about 23 years old at the time. I had no skills in regards to real estate, but I did come from a real estate background because my mom was heavy into real estate, but I never understood the formal part of real estate investing and especially real estate investing in New York City. But my mother was big into it. But lo and behold, I picked up a job as an intern in Brooklyn, New York, at a place called Nebco in Bedford Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. And I volunteered there as a receptionist. And I was a receptionist for probably 6 months. And after 6 months, they moved me over to property management. And after 6 months in property management, I became a property manager for Northeast Brooklyn Housing, which is NEPCO's abbreviation for Northeast Brooklyn Housing. After that, it was second nature for me. And I think growing up in Brooklyn and dealing with affordable housing, you're living in that element. So it's easy for you to relate to the people in your element. And I think where I had an edge on everyone else is that I lived in the community and I understood the plight of the people in the community, right? And I became very successful. And I knew it was going somewhere because it was easy for me and hard for everyone else. Because as a property manager, we know by industry, the industry says that a property manager only lasts 2 years. He has a 2-year life expectancy. And I've been in the business 27 years. So going from Brooklyn, New York, living there, it was really tough. So anywhere I've gone after Brooklyn, New York has been very easy, because of the elements in New York City and the things that you have to deal with as a property manager. It's more of a mental, more mental than it is operations in New York City. But while in New York City, I was able to become a certified property manager for New York City housing. I also received my certification from IREM, Institute of Real Estate Management, which is one of the best management certifications that you can get in the world at the moment. And for a while, I was the only IREM certified person in the UAE, but now UAE has IREM certification courses themselves. So that's pretty much my story.
What do you think a property manager needs to have, as characteristics himself? Because usually you need to have like a thick skin to be a property manager. And I think as well that getting your feet wet through property management is probably one of the best ways, because you build relationships with landlords and also how to handle tenants.
Right.
In your opinion, if someone wants to get into property management today, what does he need to work on?
He needs to work on you need to be a psychologist. They tell you to be a good property manager, you should have a degree. People always say real estate. I said, no, you should have a degree in psychology, because that was the paradigm at one time. There were a lot of people going over from sociology and psychology and becoming property managers, and they were the best property managers because 90% of the job is dealing with people and their mindset. The second thing, you should have a high EI. You should have emotional intelligence, because especially in Dubai, you're dealing with people from all over the world. And if you don't have a high EI, do not take on a job like this, especially in the UAE. The skill set that is needed for property management is just to be, you have to be well organized, because there's levels to property management, right? You need to have conflict resolution skills. You need to be able to deal with different classes of people on your staff. And here's what I'm talking about. I'm a property manager. I have the FM under me, just a facility maintenance. These are the ones that cleans the buildings, and they're taking care of all the maintenance. And then over me, I have an asset manager. His job is to make sure that the building or the project is profitable through the life cycle of that project. Usually it's 20 to 25 years. That's his job. And I'm in the middle. I'm the liaison between the two. And this is pretty much the job of the property manager. Has to have great operational skills. He should be great at conflict resolution skills. And he should be able to delegate very well, because he's in between two major components in the business: asset management and FM.
These are great insights. So started in New York, now you're in Dubai.
Right.
What happened in between? What brought you here?
I guess in New York City, just walking home, living in Brooklyn, New York, that's where my day starts. You know, other people go to work, they say, oh, it's difficult going to work and everything. My day starts going to the job and coming home, because in between that, my solace is working. That's where I get that positive energy, working with people, solving people's problems and things like this. And just imagine going to work or coming home, the dangers that you face on a daily basis growing up in New York, right? I got tired of those challenges, really. I got tired of having to deal with, I don't know if I should live in New York. Maybe I should live in Atlanta or Georgia, where I can carry a gun legally. It's unfortunate, but this is how you think when you're living in America, you know? So I truly felt like my life was on the line every day when I went to work and when I left my job to get on the train to come home. And when I say literally, there's no fear, because you've grown up in that element. But I honestly became tired of it, you know. And then I accepted Islam. That changed my life even a bit more. Living around, being in the masajid with a lot of Muslims and doing what I do, I had Egyptians saying, go to Egypt. Some people saying, go to Morocco. Other people saying, go here, go there. So that was a great experience, because I was able to obtain an international understanding before I traveled. Okay. You know, and so when I left America, I went to Morocco first, because it was close to America, close to New York City, 7-hour trip. And I said, okay, if I get homesick, I can go right back home. Or if I want to give this crazy idea of leaving the country, I can go right back to New York immediately. But that was short-lived. I stayed in Morocco for about 6 months. Then I went over to Egypt. And at this time, what was interesting is that there was no such thing as property management. I left in 2001. There was no property management in overseas at that point, where people say, okay, we need a property manager, we need an asset manager. So what did I do? I played basketball in Morocco, I played basketball in Egypt. So that's how I was passing time. And I was able to play professional basketball in Egypt. And then after Egypt, I went to Saudi Arabia. Again, no property management, no need for property managers. And so I did a lot of things in Saudi Arabia. Outside of playing basketball, I was a principal of an international school. I taught English at a college. I was the general manager for a refrigeration company. So there were multiple things. But the key was my managerial skill set put me in those positions. Not that I was qualified for them, but my organizational skills, my conflict resolution skills, and my ability to articulate in a short way what I wanted was the reason I believe I was hired for a lot of those positions that I had no experience in.
Yeah. And then from Egypt, I think you moved to Dubai.
I moved to Saudi from Egypt.
Oh, sorry, from Saudi you moved to Dubai.
I moved to Dubai. Yeah, I moved to
Okay.
Dubai, and it was the best experience. 2008 was the best and worst experience. Came in about 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Dubai was the first place that opened up property management and asset management. It was the first year that it became known to the people. You actually need someone to make sure these buildings are clean, to make sure that tenants' complaints are being resolved in a timely fashion. And Dubai was on the cutting edge. Of course, it's the UAE, you know. So I started out with Limitless, which was a company under Dubai World. It was the property management arm of Dubai World, and my first project was downtown Jebel Ali, the galleries. Yeah. And so I managed, it was a mixed use project, mainly commercial, retail shops. And in the back, they were supposed to have a residential area, but the buildings are still there, but it never opened up. And of course, what happened in 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis hit us really hard. And I had invested heavily in the UAE. I lost my shirt, and I started looking for ways to bail out. You know, I was still working with Limitless at the time, and I was working under Ahmed Saeed, which is probably one of the greatest managers I've ever worked under. He's an Emirati guy, and he refused to let me go even during the crisis. When I was managing the property, said, "No, you can't go." I was like, "Saeed, I can't take this." And I was nervous. I'm overseas. I don't know what's going to happen. And he didn't want to let me go. I thank him to this day for that. But I was headhunted by a company in Qatar during the crisis. And at that time, Qatar wasn't suffering like everyone else. And let's fast forward, just like Dubai, the UAE didn't suffer during the COVID period. Qatar was like immune to the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis. It was like the opposite, you know? And so I went to Qatar. I started working for a government company called Wasif, and I was the head of their property management for a project that was probably the biggest project in the Middle East at the time. It's called Barwa, I forgot it was, but it was in Barwa, and it was about 6,000 units. It was just a massive project. So that is the project I pretty much brag about to this day, because it was at that time, I believe, the biggest project in the Middle East. And I had the luxury of managing that project in Dubai. In Doha.
Nice. I want to go back a little bit to your experience in Dubai.
Okay.
You said, you had a hard time, you lost everything. I like hearing from people, what happened to them, and if there was any insight or any learning they could share with our
during
listeners.
the subprime crisis, subprime mortgage crisis. Listen, it was the greatest experience one of the greatest experiences I've ever had during the subprime mortgage crisis, because I had invested so heavily in the bubble. I was so broke that there was a couple of times I rolled into the gas station with no gas. Literally, I would put 5 and 10 dirhams in my gas tank. I was living in Ras Al Khaimah at the time and working in Dubai. And when I say that Allah was with me, I would roll. The gas had run out, and I'm rolling into the gas station, and I had to push it a few feet to put gas in the car. True story. And I remember every day, every month that I got my check, it was gone, because the people I owed for off-plan properties that I had purchased, and I had to pay people their money back if I did an investment at that time. Well, I wasn't investing with people at that time. Pretty much everything was me and my investments, but it was really bad. And I remember coming home, like having 3 extra dirhams to give candy to my kids. And that was a highlight of my day.
Oh, you had kids at that time?
I had kids at that time. I always have kids. I have a bunch of them, That's why I work hard, you know. But yeah, just to be able to do that and think back on that, and to where I am now, nothing bothers me. Nothing. There's nothing you can do. I know poverty, so I don't fear it anymore. You know, it's just a test in life that I know I'll get over it if I'm alive. You know, so great experience.
So inspiring, brother. So Qatar,
Mm,
and now you are in Dubai.
right.
So what brought you back to
I'll
Dubai?
tell you, Qatar was great, right? Another great experience. I was working for a sheikh in Qatar,
Yeah.
and he took my company from me. He had some guys. I believe the people were jealous of my success. I was working for a particular person in Qatar, and I was the head of his whole portfolio, residential portfolio. I did a great job. Anybody who knows, they can check the newspapers. Jamie Watkins will see what I did in Qatar. I changed Qatar's landscaping when it comes to education, combining education and sports. So I was running a big project, and I saw that this particular person, he had all of these properties, basketball courts, tennis courts, and football pitches, and no one was using them. I had already had it planned when I was in America. I said, look, when I'm able to have my own company, I'm going to open up an affordable sports academy for kids in New York City where they don't have to pay much, and we're going to teach them sports to get them grounded. Well, now I'm in Qatar, and they have all this money, right? Don't know what to do with it. They have all these properties. A lot of them are empty, and they didn't know how to utilize it. And I did. As soon as I came in, I saw the opportunity. And going back, when I was working for Bardo Real Estate, I left Bardo Real Estate to go with this particular sheikh in Qatar. And to give him his respect, he was good. A lot of times the people that are under you are not really good. You know, he was great. He treated me like a son. I never asked for anything that I didn't get. At the end, it was ugly, but during that time is what I want to remember, right? And during that time, there's been nobody, I don't think, in Qatar, and I can brag about this, that have changed Qatar and the way real estate is done in Qatar before I came and after I left. Now, I opened up a sports academy, which became the #1 sports academy in Qatar, utilizing all of the properties that he had, the basketball courts, the football pitches that he had, the gyms. I put personal trainers in the gyms. I put professional basketball coaches wherever the basketball courts were, and I formed the largest sports academy. It eventually became the largest sports academy in Doha, and when they took it, it was on $6 million a year. Wow. And I started with $100. I failed the first time. I failed. It was I failed the first time because I didn't do what I did the second times with the $100. The first time I sent a notice out to tenants through emails. No one responded. The second time I bought $100 worth of flyers, sent it out to the tenants, had my staff, my maintenance staff, put it on the tenants' doors. It exploded. The money that came in from the sports academy, I just kept putting it into the business. And so it got to a point where I was able to resign from my position as general manager and just run this sports academy. Now, I combined education with the sports academy. I bought a company from a young man. It was failing. It was called he named it something else. I called it Bricklin Lego Education. And we started a STEM program, and we combined it with the sports. So if your kid came in and was playing football, he can leave football and then go to the STEM program that we had, where he can learn science, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics through playing with Lego bricks, right? Wow. We probably were in every school in Qatar with our sports and education. After that, I opened up a franchise called Kip McGrath in Qatar. It's a math and English institute, which is one of the leading institutes in Doha. And I opened up a few centers in Doha with that. We ran crazy with the business, and it all started with real estate. So it shows you the importance of real estate, and not every inch of real estate has to be utilized. And that's where asset management comes in. So they didn't have an asset manager when I was working there. I was their asset manager, but their property manager at the same time, because my job is what, as an asset manager, they have something called the three P's: preserve, protect, pass along. Meaning when you leave, that next manager that comes in should be holding on to an asset that has positive cash flow. And those are the three P's of asset management. And it sums up, really, since the asset manager is over the property manager, it sums up property management, you know?
Yeah. So you still have businesses in Qatar,
I still
right?
have businesses. When that sports academy was taken, I had to go to charity, literally. They not only took the sports academy, but they went to people outside who owed me money. Because look, let's go into wealth, right? I was pretty wealthy at that time, right? I think I was making a lot of money, but I was putting a lot of money back into the business because you're not anticipating something like this happening, right? And so a lot of people who have money, we put our money in assets for that day where we can liquidate that asset or do whatever we need to do. But we can, as long as there's something to liquidate, you're never broke, right? And so this was always my concept. So through the sports academy, I bought Bricklin, Lego. We named it Bricklin, but it was something else before that. Through that, I bought Kit McGrath. Through that, I bought many companies that I'm not naming right now. Those brands still stand to this day. So I'm not only a property management guy, I'm also a brand builder, and they still stand. Now, in building the sports academy and going back to how it deals with real estate, like you always take advantage of everything you have in real estate, you know, and the rules that I applied to building real estate are the rules that I apply to this day in making money and doing real estate here in the UAE. And one of those rules are you have to make sure you don't have a partner. Never partner. That's one of my rules. Never partner with anyone, because when you've seen poverty, you're not going to make the same mistake again. Because we spoke about this. Yeah. Out of 10 businesses that start today with a partner, 8 of them will not be around in 2 to 3 years, right? So that's one rule of thumb that I had. The next one is to make sure that you have everything signed and sealed, which I didn't do when I was in Qatar. I didn't sign any contracts. I went on, I love you. You love me. You treat me like a son, so nothing's going to happen. And my business was taken because behind my back, they went and they got their own license under the same name that I created and then put the Sheikh's name on it.
Wow.
And didn't tell me. So when they pushed me out of the business, I had no proof of anything. And then no lawyer wanted to touch it in Doha. So I had all of those things to deal with. And I'm sorry to have a stream of conscience. Only thing I needed was time in Qatar to rebuild. That's all I needed. And I thought I wouldn't have that time because the man was so powerful. I said, man, he may be able to get me kicked out of Qatar, which wasn't so. And that's not what he pursued. But I was able to stay there long enough to build 3 different brands, as I say, that still stand today. And, you know, they make more money than what I was making prior to that. But, you know, the thing is that I was talking about how I had to literally go to charity and ask the state of Qatar for money for me to survive when I was there. I couldn't go out the house. My name was so bad, I couldn't go out the house because, of course, if you're going to take my company, you're not going to tell the truth. Yeah. Everyone knew the truth, but anyone who was able to benefit from it kept their mouths shut. I prayed for 2 things when that had happened to me. I had prayed that all the people that had did that to me would one day come back to me and ask for a job. That was one of the things that I had prayed for. Do you know that the majority of those people work for us?
Really?
That worked for that company and came back and apologized. And I asked for apology. That's all I asked Allah. They come back and work for me, a true story, and that they apologize. Everyone who worked for me at that time, they were my enemy. I don't know what they told them over there. They tried to come back and explain to me, we know we made a mistake. I don't want to hear it. I really don't, man. My dua was answered. It was answered. You're back, you're in front of me. We're friends again. I can forgive you because you're a pawn in this game.
Yeah.
You're not a boss, and pawns always side with the person who has the drums, and then seeing me up against this Goliath of a person, no, Jamie won't make it. But what they didn't know is that I'm a better businessman than he is. His name got him his business. My skill set got me my business. You get me?
Yeah. So we talked about real estate in Qatar when we met last time, and you said, I do not advise you to invest there.
I do not advise investing in Qatar now. I think Qatar's government is a great government, and they're very intelligent, especially Tamim. He's a very intelligent guy and a great ruler. I just think they lost their footing because there was, COVID, and then the World Cup, and trying to prepare for the World Cup and spending so money. They spent massively for the World Cup. And they did two of the things I love that Qatar did with the World Cup is that they put on a show better than anyone ever, right? And it's a Muslim country. This was an accolade for them and me as a Muslim. The second thing they did, they had thousands of people come to Islam through sports, like more important to me than anything else. Qatar could not have done anything. They can't do anything wrong in my eyes now. Forget the real estate. It's not good. You know what I mean? Bunch of people entered Islam, and I don't want to make the show about religion, but, through sports, that was kind of ingenious, how they combined the two, that no one else would have done that. I don't know, but that was ingenious for that to happen. And for people to come there and actually feel that kind of energy and the accolades that they were giving to Qatar, and, the good speech was just amazing. It's just an amazing thing.
So Qatar, now you are in Dubai again. What brought you back?
Business, of course. Dubai. I always had confidence in Dubai, and I always liked the balance that Dubai brought to us. And even though what happened in 2008, I didn't stop purchasing properties. As soon as when I moved to Doha and I was making money, I was still investing heavily in Dubai, buying properties and renting them, long-term, short-term. And so I still had a hold on Dubai. And I think from Qatar, I probably purchased about 10 properties while I was in Qatar. Anytime a good property came up, I specialized in distressed deals. At that time, I was looking at distressed deals. People need money. I'll make them cash offers. And that's how I was getting my properties. When I was in Doha, I was getting those properties in Dubai and making pretty decent money off of the rental income.
Yeah. So today you specialize a lot in subletting.
Right.
How did you get into that?
Okay. I got into subletting because I saw so many people making money prior to the new law that had come about with subletting and how can I say male and females can live together legally in the UAE. There was a lot that came out of that law. People thought that it was just, okay, you don't have to be married. No, that's something small. What I got from it was that people can share housing. That was the most important thing, shared housing. So that's what the UAE had opened up. Okay, it's permissible now to share housing. So I put out a video in December, knowing that the law would come about in January, saying that subletting is permissible in the UAE. And actually, it's Rental Law 24, if anyone wants to check it, right? And subletting is permitted with the consent of the landlord. So the landlord can consent with his consent, you can do this. And so I put out a video in December. I started in January when the law came about. And I started with villas, and I started renting up villas first, asking the the landlord, can I sublet? He let me sublet, and I started with shared villas. When you're doing a shared villa, the law is that everyone should be on the ijari. that is living in that particular place. If it's a 3-bedroom, you got 3 families in there. It should be 3 families, and they should be on the Ijari, right? The second,
Sorry, can you explain what the Ijari
the
is?
Ijari is a part of your rental contract to show that you have registered with pretty much with the government entities in Dubai. So you have your lease, and then you have the Ijari, and when that Jari comes up, that is from Dubai Land Department, right? And it's very important. It's very important to have your Ijari. You should not have a lease without an Ijari. So once I knew that I could do that, I started out, I put out a video. I said, I'll make $1 million and I'll have 10 villas in 1 year. And so that was supposed to be from December to December. We were advancing at such a rapid rate. I said, okay, this seems to be going pretty well. I think in the 6 or 7 month, we were over $1 million and over 10 properties at that point. And I started to understand, okay, I can do this and that. The difference between the way I do it and other people do it is that I have a hybrid model. My hybrid model may include an Airbnb type model in one area of the house, a family room in another area, and then a co-living space in the living room. So I make it, for me, it's a 5-star hotel. That's my concept that I come up with when I'm doing shared housing. So you have a communal living room that pretty much looks very nice, right? And then you have a co-living space where people can sit, use their computers and things like this. And then you have the rooms in the house that you will rent out to individuals. Here was the thing I didn't expect in this business. I never expected, I called it transitional housing. And it was specifically for women. Let's get to the woman transition because this was an initiative for me. And I said, oh, it's going to make money. Yeah, but it was more of an initiative. And so when I started that, I thought it would be transitional in that a person will come from overseas. They want to feel safe. They're going to come to a young lady comes, she wants to feel safe. She's going to come to my dwelling and she's going to be in a co-living space. Also, she'll be able to get resources and from the people that's already in the villa because everyone is a professional. We do scrutinize our tenants. We don't let anyone come in. So what I didn't realize is that the women started to like the place so much they wouldn't move. So it went from being transitional to permanent housing. And I'm like, okay, I'm on to something now. I won't tell people what the concept is. They have to pay for that. If you want to go in, you got to pay for it, right? But I would get calls from tenants if they had a complaint and said, Jamie, I love the place. I'm not complaining about anything. You know, I love staying here, but this. I said, I'm on to something. This is what I wanted. I wanted to create a community for women, a resourceful community where they can vibe with each other. Somebody needs a job in the villa. This lady over here knows a company that's hiring. That kind of synergy I was hoping for, and I got it. And it went from transitional housing to literally permanent housing. See, because it just went in a direction that I never thought. But that's what happens in real estate. And when you're trying to create something else when you're trying to create something good, something better comes. And the good thing about this housing is that we're expanding. So we expanded to a second one and we're looking for the third and fourth. And it's probably the best initiative that we have, as well as a pretty decent money generator in the end.
What I like with you is that you can see the opportunity where no one can see it, right? So now, what is your plan in the future? So you're expanding in the subletting. Are there other strategies that you're using?
Yeah. So we will, depending on the areas that we're in, right? I think JVC, I was heavy in JVC because JVC is middle class. So if you're going to do an all women's anything, you're going to do it in areas where they're presumed to be very safe for women. There's no bachelors living in these areas, and the rent is affordable, so you can make it affordable to the tenants, because the whole goal of it all is to have affordable housing, right? Because no one is preaching affordable housing. right? Dubai is not looked at as a affordable housing destination. I make it an affordable housing destination. That's up to us to do it. And I think that there are a lot of landlords like myself doing a very good job of making things affordable at this time. So we have the all ladies accommodation. Then we have the subletting, let's say, where you had met me in Barsha, where I have 16 apartments there, and the landlord had allowed us to use this it's a commercial building anyway, but he allowed us to use this for staff accommodations. And that was able to blow up because we were able to advertise that very well, get a lot of companies to come in and take apartments from us instead of us having to look only for individuals, and my team really was able to do that in good marketing. I got a great marketing team and a good team of operators, which was key in helping me rent up the 16 units that we have. And I think about 8 of them now, or 5 to 8 of them are at full capacity. We had some challenges with the other 8. And if we didn't, those probably would have been at 50 to 75% capacity by now.
Wow. So what are you up to after that? Are there any other plans? Are you planning to buy, or are you still going into subletting?
Buying is out of the picture. Yeah. And people are going to hate me for this, right? The only people that will keep, the only, how can I say, comments I will get is probably from real estate agents in Dubai. They don't want me to say this. I told you outside, listen, my tuition has gotten me to where I am now. What I tell everyone is, it's, you go with your gut feeling a lot of times, right? Your intuition is nothing but experiences that you've had in the past that leads you to a conclusion, right? I've seen this before. I've seen the explosion with real estate. And so I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch what happens. I'm not going to predict. I made a video, I predicted 2 years this will continue and then we'll see a dip. I hear the analysts and the experts saying, this many people are coming in, this many, and hey, I believe it will. But after the subprime mortgage crisis and after COVID, I have to move with a little bit of skepticism. In life, it's not just real estate. Life isn't just real estate. And you put your eggs all in one basket and you'll lose your shirt like I did in 2008. And I lost my shirt before COVID as well with heavy investments. That will not happen to me again. So I'm playing it safe, but I'm still making more money than I ever would, even if I did off plan, because subletting makes you more money than off plan. Subletting makes you more money than buying a property and renting it out. What is the average? And if you buy a property, right, and most people unfortunately mortgage their properties, right? Yeah. Your bottom line is only 4.5%. That's your ROI on a property that you buy, you have a mortgage on, and you're renting it. 4.5% is your ROI. Now, if you didn't and you own it, 7%. That's laughable for me. Yeah. Subletting gets you 40 to 100% returns. I put my last check on it. Wow. That's what I make. That building that you saw, we make over $1 million a year in that business, and I bring home about $300,000 to $350,000 yearly in that one building. What about the other buildings we have in Karama and Riga? Those are bringing us in massive returns, 40 to 100% returns, and sometimes up to 120. Why would I buy a property when I have another way of making money? So why put my money on an off-plan property? Why go to the bank and ask for a loan, which I don't take loans anyway? And we're debt-free. We're a debt-free company because we sublet. We don't owe the bank nothing. Nothing. We have investors. Yeah, and investors believe in us because we were able to raise over $1 million in 6 months. So they believe in the model. And every investor we have brought us about 3 other investors. So that shows you the trust is there, right? And money must be made because people continue to invest with us. We don't really have new investors coming in. We have investors that are referrals from other investors that invest with us. So subletting is king. And I'll challenge anybody on that, whether the concept or whether or not I have to worry about where are we going to be doing if there's a crisis. Everyone has to come to me if there's a crisis because I have affordable housing.
Yeah.
Right? So those apartments that most people can't afford, those studios that the lady who works in Mall of Emirates or in the retail shops, she can't afford a 30,000 dirham apartment. Where's she going to live? She has to come see Jamie Watkins, and I have affordable housing for her.
Yeah. So are you feeling now that things are flipping? What I mean by this is, when you start, you chase investors. And then after a few months, you have to say no to a few of them. Are you in that position?
Nope.
Good.
Mine is backwards. I do business backwards. I'm counterintuitive, right? Yeah. I don't go with the clock. What happened was the fact that, and I don't want to give myself any props or give myself tazkiyah or anything. The fact that I'm trustworthy is why people give me money. Has nothing to do with me asking for it because I never did. If you see my videos, I just started talking about investing. Mm-hmm. Look at my videos. The first video I started in Nigeria. I became big. I'm not Nigerian, and I've never been to Nigeria, but the Nigerians invested with me heavily. I started out a $500 investment with Nigerians. And it was about 30 Nigerians came and said, look, we've been scammed and this all the time. We don't know what we should do. And all of your investments that you talk about, they're too expensive because I was just talking about housing and things like that. He says it's too expensive. I said, okay, I'm going to create something for you. I created a $500 investment for these Nigerians, and a few Americans came in also. I said, okay, I make sure I'm going to bring you back about 75% of your money in 1 year. I put their money into a project. I gave all of these investors, it was a small investment. First off, they got 75% of that $500, which wasn't much. And I gave them all their capital back in 6 months. All 30 investors. And they said, can we do it again? No, you can't. I can only do a miracle once. My fear of not being able to repeat something, I always do something and then I'll leave it there. But they were happy with that small investment. And that 500 for the Nigerians is equivalent to 5,000 to someone somewhere else. But that was done through subletting.
Yeah. Do you think that anyone in the world can do what you're doing?
No. Entrepreneurs, they come out of the womb. You don't make them. You can't make an entrepreneur. You can't make a person risk their livelihood for more money. I lost everything. I'm back. Did it twice. I could lose it again. Inshallah, I don't. I'll come back. Nobody has a stomach for that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot, and it takes a lot out of you. So no, first off, people don't have that type of appetite for risk. Whenever you talk to someone about real estate, I don't care what business it is, the possibility of losing money, they can't handle that. So they'll never start.
Damn. So it's all about taking the risk.
All about taking the risk or having me convince you that this is the right thing to do. Because how do I convince an investor? I tell an investor, look, I know you're scared. And they're skeptical up until the time they give me their investment money. But when I give them that first big dividend check, they relax. And then when I give them their full capital back, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the reason we're able to do that is because with subletting, you can make so much money off of a project. You can double, triple your capital. So it enables me to give you dividends as well as your money back easily. But what happens is that I now own that project when you leave it, but you paid for it. That's why subletting is beautiful. If I bring in a conglomerate and they have a building and the building costs us $3 million, I let them know from the start, you're going to get 50% of your money back. And you're going to also get back your capital in 18 months, but you have to leave the project. Who's not going to say no?
Yeah.
Right? But who owns the project after? JJ Vaganova.
No. Jimmy, you're giving me some crazy numbers here. Like we've been talking about 50, 100% return. And you're saying that you're basically renting those apartments from the owners and getting this kind of returns. My question is like, why they don't do this themselves?
Why the owners? Because most owners in the UAE own multiple properties, and their stream of income, they don't consider using shared housing as a, putting that in their portfolio or using that as another, making that another passive income stream. Because what may be easy to me is very difficult to someone else. But most owners that I deal with, they have multiple properties and they've become very wealthy by just renting properties out to people like me. But what has really become very interesting is everywhere you go now, everyone is allowing shared accommodation, where that was a no-no in the past. And what's happening is that landlords have caught on to, Jamie, we know you're tripling your money. So I'm going to go up on the rent and I'm going to charge you $250,000 to take this villa, but he would only charge a family $200,000. And this is happening in the market now. Okay. So the owners are benefiting off of it in that way. So this is an extra $50,000 a year that they're getting in passive income. Why would I do what Jamie Watkins or this guy is doing when I can charge Jamie more? And I'm happy to pay the extra because I still have margins on top of what he's charging me, because I can raise my rents up a bit more also, because that's the market. If everybody's doing it, the tenant is expected to take a tad bit of a brunt of that, how can I say, that rental increase. So if they raise my rent, I might have to go up 25, 50 dirhams on the tenant's rent as well. So I'll take some of the brunt and the tenant will take some of the brunt. But I find that it's very common now, even buildings. The building you saw, I pay $167,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. That 2-bedroom should only be $100,000, but I still make $6,000 to $7,000 off each unit. So if I have 16 units there, do the math on what I'm getting. So I'm not worried about what he's getting. I'm only worried about what's going in my pocket. But those units that I have over there, the 1-bedrooms I have should only be about 70,000. And the 2-bedrooms should be about 100. So I'm paying 67,000 more than the market rate.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So we built duplexes where I live in Winnipeg. And as I was telling Taki last time, I get bored. Real estate, or especially property management, is super boring. And these properties are not close to my home. And my builder approached me and he's like, we started like an Airbnb arbitrage. Would you like to rent those properties to us? I'm like, sure. And he offered me like 15% more. And he's reducing my maintenance costs because he's taking care of everything.
Right.
To me, it's a hassle that I'm not taking care of. Like I don't want to deal with that anymore. I'm getting paid more, right, and he's making more money than me, obviously. But to me, it's a win-win. I'm saving time traveling to those properties. I'm saving money, also taking care of the maintenance. I'm not dealing with tenants. I had some very bad experience lately. So I can definitely relate to what you're saying here, is that in a way, they're winning too.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. And they're winning big time, because he has 53 units in that property. And so that's 53 times 67,000, or whatever the number of 2-bedrooms are in that building. Oh. So his bottom line is is crazy, you know, but so is mine. So I don't pocket watch, you know.
Yeah.
So he's doing well, I'm doing well. It's all fair, love and war.
So we do have a tradition in this podcast. There's a section we call the steroid shot.
Okay.
We're not asking you to take a shot, don't worry.
I got some water, water here.
Yeah, what we want through this is you giving an advice to a young Jamie in his 20s or his 30s.
Mhm.
If he has to make one mistake, what would it be? And if he has to focus on one skill, what would it be?
If he had to focus on one skill and one mistake,
Yeah,
you mean like one mistake he should make in life?
yeah.
Ooh, yeah. And this has to do with money. Lose it all, be patient. Skill set is being patient.
So people should lose it all.
They should lose it, because I prefer to lose what I lost 15 years ago than to lose it now. Because I don't know at my age would I have been able to come back, because I may have not had the energy. You get me? So losing it and having the skill set of just having the patience to be able to endure it, because that's all it takes. If you're patient, you'll get through it.
And the faith as well.
I didn't want to say it, to walk Allah. Allah Masabarin.
Yeah,
You know,
be patient.
that's right.
All right. Jamie, before we wrap up, how can people follow you?
They can go to Jamie_Haytham_Watkins. It's JAMIE _Haytham HAYTHAM _Watkins WATKINS. I'm on Instagram, and the same handle is on IG and Facebook.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put it in the description of the video and we'll show it
Appreciate it.
so
Appreciate it.
on the screen. My friend, thank you very much for coming today. It was a great pleasure to have this podcast with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.